college ready than he did. On the defensive side, I think there's a bunch of names also. You mentioned Braylon Faison-Walden. He was a 3-star. I've talked about this before, that if you don't fall into a certain box and check off 6'3", 225, you're not going to be highly rated as a linebacker. That's just how it goes. So at 6'1", 200, because you have to do some projection with his body, I think that kept some of these recruiting services from giving him that 4-star. But he's a really good football player. I don't care whether he's a safety or a linebacker. My pick, though, to go all the way around, Damian Barber from Harrisburg is 6'3", is about 245 pounds. I think, just projecting here and guessing, that he's your next defensive end, a defensive tackle, play that 3 technique. He's going to grow into that frame. His frame is nice and big and athletic. He moves well. At 6'3" and almost 250 pounds now, I don't think it's hard to see him as a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, checking in at 290 pounds and causing some chaos from the inside as opposed to the outside.
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy, too, and I think people forget that he's in this class because he's been committed for so long. He's not one of those guys that went on visits or caused any sort of, drama or really reason to talk about him during his senior season, other than the fact that you'd see him and he had good stats, good games, playing with Micah Parsons and whatnot against some pretty good competition. He's a good pick. I think you're right that he's a guy that it's going to move to the top of the line, either at end or tackle, probably a tackle sooner rather than later. The one guy I think that people are in that same mold, and he's a 4-star, so it's not maybe exactly the same comparison, but Jonathan Sutherland's a guy that, he started playing football in Canada, went to Virginia, and here's a guy that was able to sort of mold his game from what was a little bit different in Canada to what was very much, the American game, of course, at the high school in Virginia. And he hits people. He thumps. Penn State was fighting off a number of schools for him, and they get him in this class. And I'm not convinced he couldn't be a year 1 guy too. I think that that he's not a year 1 guy. Rather, I think he could make an immediate impact. It's going to come down to the weight for him. That's what we'll have to wait and see on. He's going to have to add the weight to play in the Big Ten. If he's able to do that, the sooner he does, the sooner you'll see him on the field. Maybe not this year, certainly next year.
I love his game. He looks a little bit smaller version of Marcus Allen. Wants to play the same way as Marcus Allen. Yeah. I want to see him get a little bit better when the ball's in the air. That's one thing an issue I've had with Marcus Allen, is that there's not enough plays on the ball, a little bit too much head hunting, so to speak. Sutherland's the same way. Let's just wrap this up.